This is Peter Cimaroni for BVS Film Productions CommTALK, and I'm here with Mike Smith from Alexis Exhibits. Mike, talk a little bit about the status of the industry and what's happening out there.
Well, it's a lot of people ask me that question. It's very hard to identify because the exhibit and event industry spans so many different industries.
Sure.
That it's some, like the medical side of things,
sure,
takes a path on its own.
Yeah.
This year, for example, there's the International Machine Tool Show, which happens every 2 years.
All right.
Which is a hugely attended international show. Sure. Every year, the biggest show is Consumer Electronics in Las Vegas, and that's experienced an amazing resurgence post-pandemic.
Yeah.
But there are other shows. We
Sure.
serve a lot of clients in the dental industry.
Yeah.
And that industry really did not recover to the degree that it was pre-pandemic.
Sure.
Consequently, companies like ours find success in diversification.
Yeah.
Because if you're stuck in one area, for example, automotive shows, there used to be 65 shows in the span of about 3 months.
Wow.
Domestically.
Yeah.
And that has not really recovered to the degree that it was pre-pandemic.
Sure. So you've had to be creative, you've had to be innovative, and you've also had to pivot a lot, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what is your pre-show strategy? You really have to lay the foundation out before you get into these shows today because of the situation that happened with the pandemic.
Yeah. I think from a client standpoint, very few clients do it effectively in terms of pre-show planning and setting goals and things like that. That, if it's done right, can be a huge benefit and a huge contributor to a company's marketing and sales.
So do you consult with that? I mean, obviously, do you direct them?
Love to.
Sure.
Love to. Yeah. That's one of my favorite things to do. The unfortunate thing is top management usually doesn't want to get down in the trenches in trade show exhibit design and production, things like that.
But even that little nuance can make a difference, right?
Oh,
yeah,
huge.
A little tweak here or there, right?
Some of our smaller clients, the smaller companies where we are directly working with the owners or top management, it's very effective because they're so much more bottom line accountable.
Right.
That they gotta, for whatever they're investing in the show, they have to be assured that they're going to get a return on that investment. And then the strategy side of it and the planning side of it becomes critical to achieving that.
Is there any kind of example, case study that really kind of strikes you and is in the forefront of your mind as something that was a success about something like that? Well,
I mean, there's some amazing things that can be done. One of my favorites was people constantly say, because trade shows are very expensive.
Yes, they are.
From all aspects, from the space
time,
rental to the
money,
the staff, the travel,
emotion.
Yes. I mean, undoubtedly, it's a huge expense, and it's ROI is what everybody's focus is on. Sure. And it's very difficult to attach. But a couple of examples I used to do years ago. I was handled the account Libby Glass for glassware.
Yeah, right out of Toledo, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's where I started my life, actually.
Sure, yeah.
I was born there and raised.
Yeah.
But we served them, and they did a show called the Premium and Incentive Show, which I think has probably morphed into different things.
Sure.
But basically it was to show companies things that they could use on a promotional basis.
Sure.
And this was the year that they came out with the Uncola glass.
Okay.
And if you recall, the traditional Coke glass was upside down, and it was marketed as the Uncola glass. And they took orders on the show floor for like millions of gross of these glasses because companies like Burger King or McDonald's at that time, these promotional items were just going crazy. Yeah. And the numbers they turned were just unbelievable. So that, I think that's a good one just from a product driving it. From an actual performance standpoint, I think my favorite one was a company called Akuma, a Japanese company in the machine tool business. Yeah. And I did their booth staff training. And it was a very authoritative, let's say, booth staff training, where everyone in the room, no one made a noise and listened to the presenters, which was nice being a presenter, actually.
That's right. Yeah.
But but the CEO was there.
Oh, wow.
And that person made it clear that their goal was to write orders for 200 machines on the show floor.
Yeah.
And they had strategies and processes in place
Sure.
that made that happen. They
Very
actually
Japanese.
did do it.
Very Japanese.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Very disciplined. But I learned so much in listening to how they managed that side of it
Yeah.
and how effective that could be, because these machines were not little machines. These were $1 million machines. So it was not easy to do.
Gotcha.
But there again, the venue was in Chicago, and every 2 years people come, and as most people know, people go to trade shows.
Was that the McCormick Center?
Yes.
Yes. Beautiful. Crazy facility.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't want to go there again.
I hear you. I hear you. Absolutely. Yeah.
But they every 2 years, and people come to see what's new.
Yeah.
Well, in that show, it's so important because that's where they see what's new.
Well, then that kind of leads me to the next question. At the show, what are some of the strategies that you consult and direct and mentor for your clients?
Well, most of our time is spent in designing and producing the exhibit.
Okay.
And that obviously is a critical thing.
Sure.
A beautiful exhibit creates an environment where attendees are educated and made to feel comfortable. Yeah. And a teamwork ethic is usually the goal.
That's beautiful.
And,
I like that. Yeah.
Everything works together.
Yeah. In concert.
Yes.
Yes.
But people staffing the exhibit, their abilities will dramatically impact the results of the show. Okay. And few companies do well. They, with all due respect, they send their most arrogant salespeople.
Okay.
And these salespeople are not necessarily as diligent as they should be.
Okay.
And following
the protocols,
the marketing plan that had been set forth.
Sure.
And so that's
which is well thought out.
Yeah.
And the cavalier nature of that tends to not work well with the plan, right?
Yeah, and in many cases I recommended that the clients avoid sending salespeople or augment the sales force.
That's really good advice.
With inside salespeople who, number one, I get to travel to Chicago. Well, salespeople don't.
So there's gratitude there.
Yes, actually,
and there's actually some incentive. Yes, right? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think that's a key element, and then they are also trainable and manageable.
Sure.
So you tell them when somebody enters the exhibit, you introduce yourself, you do this, you do that, and usually what we try to do is design an exhibit that has a flow, so that when a visitor that's unfamiliar with the client can be taken on a little journey.
Right.
That's educationally logical, and as they come out, they we have our best opportunity to record the lead and follow up and so on.
Well, it's a good combination when they're a little hungry and also responsible.
Yes.
To the mission, right?
But that's really hard.
I understand.
To tell salespeople that they might not be the best people to talk, especially when their biggest customers are going to be walking into the exhibit.
Yeah. Or maybe have a junior AE with them, account executive or something like that, to follow up on all the protocol, if you will. So, and then post-show strategy. What is the best advice and some of the best advice that you could give or that you do consult to your clients with?
Well, I think it all revolves around top management involvement.
Sure.
So whatever is going to happen to the leads that are gathered,
right?
How they're going to be recorded, how they're going to be dispersed, how they're going to be followed up upon, and ultimately how management is going to know what is happening so that their investment is safeguarded.
Yeah.
I can tell you that some of the major medical companies that we dealt with, more than once, and companies will generally use portions of the same exhibit from year to year and modify it.
Sure.
Things like that. We do a lot of that. Yeah. Well, more than one occasion, divisions of the biggest medical companies, we have gone, the subsequent year have gone into the display to get it ready for the next show.
Yes.
And found all the leads in a cabinet.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Well, that's unmanaged. I mean, that's kind of the way that it is.
It's amazing that the United States is so successful financially with some of the lack of talent and just incompetence.
Well, and comparing to European shows, trade shows are much more valuable and thought of much more highly. And they go on for 2 weeks.
Sure.
And people, just the way that their business behavior is, that this is where people buy things.
Sure.
And the rest of the year they run their business. And so it's much more serious. And it's when we have so many clients that are headquartered offshore, either east or west, and it's very hard to work with them to design an exhibit that works in the United States when they're thinking that people are going to come in to the booth, sit down, go in a conference room and spend 2 hours getting to know everybody. When in the United States, it's like a track meet in the aisles. People are running down. Don't stop me. Give me a brochure. Do, whatever. Don't record my information. I don't want a lot of junk. But that transition makes it very hard for people to understand when they come here.
Gotcha. So if, at the end, of our CommTALK here at BVS, we like to leave the audience with some kind of nugget of inspiration or just good advice. So Mike, leave us with something that you would tell somebody that's gonna do and spend the kind of money that they're spending in a trade show so that it is effective.
Set goals.
Awesome.
Sit down well before the show. Explain to all the members of your team why you spent the money to rent the space in the show before we even start talking about exhibits or anything like that. So if we need to get 100 leads or whatever it is, or we need to close sales, whatever you think, whatever your thinking is, and then allow professionals like myself or like our company or other meeting and planning people to use that as fuel for designing and producing the desired effect. Because without that, it's just, oh, well, that'll look nice over there. Or, boy, we got to get our logo up there big, or all these arbitrary kind of
really non-essential things. You need to really focus on what's the goal, a vision, and the outcome, right?
And if you do that, then what that fuels is the post-show meeting. Where 2 weeks after the show, those goals are brought out and set on the table. And people say, how did we do?
Check, or not, or not, right?
And I can tell you that there's very, very, very few people that I've worked with in almost 50 years in this business that do that and do it well.
Well, guys and gals, listen to Mike Smith. I mean, this is great advice. These are nuggets that he's given you. So, Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter.
Absolutely. This is Peter Cimaroni for BVS Film Productions, CommTALK, Michael Smith at Alexis Exhibits.